Welcome everyone, this is Mundan Raghavan. This video we are going to discuss on Java modifiers. As we know that in classes we have maximum data parameters or let's say variables, and we will be having the different methods. But if you see only the methods and let's say the variables, you will not get any confusion. But however, we will be having different keywords in front of the method or in front of the variables, which can be like a public, private, and protected, and so on. Just to have a clear idea on modifiers in Java, we are going to see what is modifier inside the Java and what are the different levels we can have the modifiers and what are applicable, what are not applicable. So first of all, we will understand what is modifier. So let's say you have the variable or method. So by providing these modifiers, it will change the behavior of the particular element. It can be the method or it can be the variable. And we have specifically access modifier and non-access modifier. So rather than going to the directly the description, we will understand from here. So modifiers, it will be divided into two parts, access modifier and non-access modifiers. Now we will understand what is access modifier. Let's say you have the class or you have the method or you have the variable. You are just telling who can access that by specifying the access modifier. For example, here we have public, private, protected, and default. So these are the access modifiers which will define the accessibility of the specific element. The element in the sense it can be the method, class, or variable. And non-access modifier. Rather than giving the accessibility to the others, these non-access modifiers will define the element itself. For example, if you provide final or abstract or static or transition or volatile or synchronized, the behavior of the element will be changed. For example, if you mention the abstract for the class level, it will make sure that it will not allow you to create the object for that class. We will be seeing in detail what are the different modifiers and how is the description about that. Next one, access modifier. As we discussed earlier, this will provide the accessibility to the other people or other elements inside your package or outside the package. We have here public, protected, default, and private. We will go with easy things. Public. Public in the sense we can access this. For example, if you mention a class at public level, that means that the class is accessible by anyone from anywhere. Where is protected? Protected in the sense it will be at the package level and it will allow to subclasses. So we have not seen what is subclass or what is inheritance, but we will see in a quick way. But in simple, let's say if you have existing class, you want to reuse that code. You will extend that class just to make sure that you are not repeating the code again. So that will be the subclass or inheritance in simple. In coming session, we will understand clearly what is inheritance, what are the different possibilities inside the inheritance. But in case of protected, it means that you can use that protected element inside your package wherever you want. At the same time, you can use it even outside the package if it is the subclass. Then default. Actually, there is no keyword called default, but if you don't mention anything or any access modifier, that will be considered as the default. So which means that if you don't mention any access modifier, it will be accessible only inside your package. Now private. Private, as the name suggests, it will be private only to the given class. You cannot access anywhere outside the class, even in the same package. So that means that it is at the class level. Inside the class only you can access. Before going to the non-access modifiers, general thumb rule we will discuss. Whenever you have the variables general rule will be like a private variables, public methods. That means that you always have the variables to have a private level, and you will have the public methods to access that private variables, so that we don't have any direct access of the variables from the class point of view. That is just like a thumb rule. But however, we will go about the non-access modifiers. So static, final, abstract, synchronized, volatile, and transient. The main things will be like static, final, abstract. But however, if you know about the, let's say, multi-threading, you will more on the synchronized, and volatile also almost in the same part, and transient, it will be inside like transferring your class as object. However, when the session comes on the multi-threading or let's say the volatile or let's say the object transfer sessions, we will understand more on that. But now, as of now, we will understand the definition about that, especially on the static, final, abstract. Static. Like we discussed in the previous video, static is nothing but it is attaching some element at the class level. So that means that whenever the class loads into the system, that time these variables or this element will be created. For example, static methods or static variables can be accessed directly by using the class name itself. You don't want to create an object. That means that when the class loads only, it will be available to the user. Final. So final in the sense, you are just making sure that it is not going to the next level. For example, if you just consider the class, you cannot, let's say, inherit. That means that it is fixed. Inherit in the sense we have seen, we want to reuse the code from the parent level to child level, but that cannot be possible in case of final. In case of variable, for example, if you tell final, that means that the reassignment will not be possible. So in simple, if you consider as a general concept, like a general word final, that the task has been completed there itself. So you cannot reassign, or let's say you cannot recompile, or let's say you cannot give the value again. What about abstract? As the name suggests, a general meaning of the abstract is something like a very high level, which does not have any implementation of the actual things has to be done. So which means that if you have the abstract classes, that means that you have not done the full implementation, or you don't want others to create the object for that because it is in the middle way, not completed fully. So that time you will be using the abstract. The same way for the methods. But however, the abstract keyword, we can clearly see what is the combination of abstract methods and the abstract classes. So obviously this is one of the keyword. We will see where and all it can be applicable. For example, let's say we have the class, method, variable, constructor, and we have, let's say, inner classes. So we have not gone so far there, but however, you will be having different elements like this. So class, method, variable, constructor, and inner classes. So we know that in Java, there are three major components: class, variables, methods. If you consider here class and inner class will be the same category, but it will be the class inside the class. Method. So it is the one of the parameter or one of the element for the core objects. Let's say core elements: class, method, and variable. Even constructor will be considered as a special kind of method, which will be called whenever you create the object. So it also comes under the method. The next one is variable. So the data variables you will be having inside your class. Now in our class we have seen, we will see the commands, just general commands. If we consider these keywords, let's say we will go by level. That means that at the class level, what are the access modifier, non-access modifiers are allowed. At the method level, what are the access modifier, non-access modifiers are allowed. And if you mention that one, what will be the impact? So far we have seen, so what is access modifier, what is non-access modifiers, and the definition about that. And this video we will continue with at the class level, along this, let's say among this all the modifiers, what are the modifiers are applicable. For example, if you look at the class level, because we know Java is full of classes, we will start with class. If you mention any class or if you create any class, what are the access modifiers are allowed? That will be only public and default. Public, you will explicitly mention public as the keyword in front of the class, whereas default, if you don't mention anything in front of the class, by default, it will be taking as the default. I think I'm repeating the word default, but you will be seeing in practical session. But one point to be noted is if you mention or if you don't mention anything, in simple, if you have the default as the scope for the class, you can access the class only inside your package. Next one, in non-access modifiers, the class will be having the final and abstract will be the applicable for the class level. So if you mention final, just to have a class level, we will just make sure. Okay, we will be having focusing on the class level. So if you have the final in front of the class name, that means that child class creation is not possible. So that means that you cannot extend the class or you cannot inherit the class. Whereas abstract in the sense you are in the middle way of the class implementation. So that's the reason the object creation will not be possible in case of if you mention the abstract keyword in front of the class. So since we have not seen the inheritance in detail, we will see very high level. What is inheritance? Why do we need that? So before starting that one, we will understand here again one more thing. So whatever we have seen so far, we will just have a tabular format here. Access level, if it is a public, Inside the class, inside the package, inside the subclass, anywhere you can access. If it is a protected, as we know that only till the package level, but it will be available outside the package if it is a subclass. So that's the reason class, package, and subclass will be available. And subclass in the sense here it is very vague because subclass can be inside your package or outside your package as well. The outside the package, even if it is a subclass, that time the protected will be applicable or it will be accessible. Next one, default. Default at the package level. So till your package only you can access. Even if it is a subclass or outside the package, in simple, if it is outside the package, not allowed. Private, only at the class level. Inside the class only you can access the private variables or private methods. Now, if you see these things, you can clearly understand which will be the more restrictive. The private will be more restrictive because it will allow only at the class. Default will be the next level because it is only at the package level. Outside the package, you cannot access or you cannot have the access. Protected outside the package, but not for all. That is only for the subclasses. And public, it can be anywhere by anything you can access the public variables or public methods or public classes. Now we will go to the practical sessions. We are going to see at very high level about these keywords for the class level. Before going to that, we have discussed what is inheritance. Let's say you have a simple class, and I will just explain the package structure here. We will focus on the package 1 and package 2. And here we have the different kinds of classes. We will go one by one. But however, you can see here pack 1, pack 2 are the packages that we are going to work. Now here you can see the human is the base class, or let's say the class you want to replicate. Here you have the show method inside your human class, and you have the engineer class. In engineer class, you want to have the same show method implementation. Dry method, or let's say as per the dry, don't repeat yourself. We don't want to just reuse the code. Sorry, we don't want to just repeat the code. We want to reuse the code. So that's the reason you want to reuse the code from the human class. So that's the reason in engineer class, after mentioning the engineer, you will be mentioning extends under the human. So that means that you are extending the code reusability from the human class. So that's the reason if you create the, let's say the new engineer object, and if you call the method show method, still it will show from the human class. I am a human. If you go to the human, you can see here. But the thing here to be noted is like some points, you use the extends keyword for inheritance. More on that you will be seeing in the later sessions. And here in the main method, I created the object for the new engineer by using the new keyword, but I did not assign to any variable. So there are some scenarios you need the object for the class. That's for only one time usage. So that time you will be creating the object and you will be calling the method and the task is done. Why did not I just assign to the any variable? Because I don't want that reference anymore because I don't have any task to be done with that object. So that's the reason I will be using. So this is the way you can just make sure that if your object does not have any reference, that will be taken care by the garbage collector. But however, garbage collector is an entire different topic that we will see later. But as of now, you can understand here in the engineer class, we want to use the code from the human class. That's where we extended that one, and we used the show method since we have extended. So this will be called as a inheritance in very simple. Now again, we will go back to the access modifiers. First, we will go at the very class level because we have discussed on the class level, right? So public. So public will be available at any level. So that means that inside the package, outside the package, right? So for example, here if I go to the engineer class, and before I will go to the human class. So human class will be having the access level at public. So that means that this public human class will be visible to all the packages, even it's inside or outside. First, we will go to the inside the package in engineer class. In engineer class, I'm using the engineer. Sorry, I'm just using the human class here for extension, right? So that means that I can access the human class inside the package since it's a public. But what about outside the package? Let's go to the pack2 and doctor. Here I'm extending the human. So that means that even I can access the human class, which is public, even outside from the package. So we will execute this one and we'll confirm whether we are working good. Yes. So that means that public is very clear. So it can be accessible from anywhere, including the outside package. Now we will go to the next keyword. Default is applicable at the class level. For the same example, just I will go to the human. I will mention nothing. So that means that if I forgot to, or if I don't mention anything, that will be taken as a default level. So here it is fine. Inside the engineer, you will go, and even you can access the human class because since it is in the same package. You know the default will be at the package level. If you try to access the same human from outside the package, you will be getting the compile time error. Here you can see, sorry, the error message. It is saying class human. Okay, fine. It is telling it is not considering the human class from the outside the package. So it is just suggesting to create the new human class inside your current package, pack2. Or let's say if I try to run this, you will be getting compilation problem. The method show is undefined by the type doctor. So that means that here doctor did not extend the human because of the access level. Human is available in outside the package, so he could not access because the human is at default level. Even you can see here what is the suggestion here. Change visibility to human to public. So that means that you are trying to access a human class from the pack1 that is default, and suggestion would be like if you change it to public, then it will be visible or it will be accessible from outside the package. So that is the suggestion given by the Eclipse. So this way we can clearly understand if it is the default, that will be only at the package level. Now we will go to the next one, final. So final in the sense, just we will just revert this change, go to the human, change it to public. So we don't have any error here now. Now we will focus on the final. So final at the class level, if we mention any class with the final keyword, that means that it will not extend or it will not allow for inheritance. So that's the concept with final keyword along with class level. Now let's go to the human, and here you are mentioning home final. Fine. But you will be having error in all the places where you are trying to extend or inherit the human class. Even it is in the same package or even it is in the outside package. Here you can see human. So what is the suggestion here? So remove final modifier of human. So you are trying to extend the human class, but it will not be allowed to take the inheritance of the human class until unless you don't remove the, let's say the which level. So here you can see human, it's the final. The final keyword will make sure that human class should not be inherited. So until unless you don't remove the final keyword, you cannot inherit. So where are the requirements such as like you want to have a class which should not be inherited by other classes or other people, that time you will be using the final for the class level. Next one, abstract. So for creating the abstract classes, generally, if you have in progress copy of the code implementation, or let's say in some scenarios, you don't want to create the object for that class, but still you want other people to implement that abstract class and have an implementation. But in simple, since we have not seen the inheritance or abstraction in detail, we will understand if you mention the abstract at the class level, it will not allow user to create the object for that. Or let's say it simply means that the class implementation is not been done. You want to implement by yourself by again extending that class in your own abstract class implementation, or you just have a reference for that. But however, we have not seen abstract, right? So we will go to the general definition. Here you cannot create the object for that. So let's say I'm just mentioning as the abstract. Since we have created the abstract here, so we are not allowed to create the object for the human. But now you might wonder, in engineering class and all, we are not getting any error because we are not creating the object for the human. We are implementing, or let's say we are extending the human, and we are making sure just we are having some our own code. So which means that directly we are not creating the object for the human. Okay, fine. Now we will go to the human class again. So in the same way, here itself, let's say main method, enter. Shortcut will be main and control space. It will create the main method with the correct syntax. Now I want to create the human object, right? So I am not going to use further. So I will be creating directly the object, new human colon. Here you can see the error. Cannot instantiate the type human because it is the abstract. So it is in the same class, right? So let me comment it out. And we will go to the subclass. So subclass in the sense which extended our human class. Here again, already main method is available. So let me take this one and a new human. Here also, we are making sure that cannot instantiate the human directly. We'll go to the outside the package in doctor class. Let's say I'm creating the new human. Even here also we'll be getting the same error, cannot instantiate the human. So which means that the human class, what we are trying to say is like, we are working on this code and it is not completed and user is not allowed to create the object for that. But you might wonder, so why do we need to use the abstract? So in some scenarios or in the design patterns, we will detailedly discuss about the abstract and interfaces. But however, in simple now we will understand abstract classes will not allow you to create the objects directly for the class. You can just extend the class, but you cannot create the object for the direct class. Now we have seen the access modifier as 2 and non-access modifier for 2 for the class level. In the similar fashions, in coming session, we will understand what are the modifiers are applicable for at the method level, at the constructor level, at the inner class level. So after completing this one, we will understand what is inheritance and so on. So this is all about the access modifiers and non-access modifiers intro, and modifiers at the class level also we have seen with practical. So thanks for watching and have a great day.